All right, welcome back to another episode of the Outdoor Burrito. We are again outside. We told you that the venue was going to change, so if you're watching this on YouTube, well, you see different venue, different place because we're in a different place. We're on the shores of Lake Tenkiller at our campground, and this week we have a special one. Vandy's with us again. Kyle's here, but we also have Dave Mercer.
But no burritos.
No burritos.
We got the
so get
heavy
this.
on the outdoor,
so this
weak
is,
on the burritos.
This is where I screwed up.
All right.
I actually had a guy message me. Can't remember his name off the top of my head. Said he owns a Mexican place, and for the outdoor burrito, he would this week bring like a taco truck type. It's not a taco truck, but he said he would bring stuff. Like for tacos and burritos, and I screwed up and I didn't have him come today, so I'm sorry.
I'm leaving.
Yeah, that was kind of a disappointment.
So weak. I would have been so proud to be on the first outdoor burrito with actual burrito.
We get catered.
I know. I totally jacked that up. He would have catered it. I don't know. Maybe maybe it'll happen later this week if I get a hold of him. But
he could have got good business. We were garnering quite a crowd here.
I know. Yeah, we actually have a live audience. You can't see it, but there's people behind the camera that are just hanging out. We'll see how long it takes before they get bored and walk off to better things. But if they stick around, then more props to them.
We've officially have fans, which is huge.
I know.
They're here.
They're
an audience. None of them said they were fans. They just said, hey, there's nothing else going on, so I'll stop.
There's nothing else going on at Tenkiller, so here we are. I wanted to get into a lot of different stuff with you than hopefully what people have normally heard you talk about.
All right.
We'll see how open you are to it. But I want to start off by saying thank you for being really good at what you do. Most people might not know this, but me and Mercer started at the exact same tournament.
We did.
We launched our careers at the 2011 Bassmaster Classic. I know what it was like for me walking into the Classic being my first event, like first professional event. What was it like for you? Like, hey, you didn't get like a warm-up in the Elite Series, like, hey.
It was a horrible idea.
Yeah. Like, hey, we're just going to throw you to the Wolves. Biggest event. You'd never done anything to that magnitude. You had done announcing.
Yeah.
You had done the TTBC, right?
TTBC, pretty big event, but not the Bassmaster Classic, obviously.
So you had experience with large crowds, but not to that magnitude. What, do you get nervous?
No, I don't. I weirdly don't get nervous. I get excited. I feel.
You get like the butterflies.
One of my favorite sounds on earth and it's weird because like the number one fear of people is public speaking. But one of my favorite, like more than snakes, skydiving, anything, which makes no sense to me. Because if a snake shows up, I'm leaving. But I get excited. One of my favorite sounds on earth is like, when we'll play like a sizzle reel or right after the anthem or whatever, like there's a moment where there's like just darkness and you hear the crowd, like that rumble of the crowd. It's the coolest. I'm a weirdo that way.
Yeah.
But no, I was nervous. I guess not nervous. I always say it takes a while when you get a new job, you're at a new factory, it takes a while to figure out everything. Like me and Tripp had never done a weigh-in together. Yeah. So like just timing of, like Tripp could show up again today and I know exactly his body language when he rolls the bag, like how long it takes for the weights to come up and stuff like that. So there's that. But you made me look good that week. And I'm sure, no, you did, you really did. Because me and Brandon met like, I don't know, a few days before, it was early. I mean, it was before the Classic, and I knew who you were. I did a ton of research, and he introduced himself to me, and we had like a 30-minute conversation at a little coffee shop, and he said, hey, I'm this kid from Idaho, and I'm the Nation guy, and I was like, I know who you are, and we had a whole big, long conversation about a bunch of stuff. You told me about the whistle and all sorts of stuff, but so why you made me look good that week is because, so I left you after our 30-minute conversation. And right away, I think there's certain people you meet and you're like, yeah, this is a guy I like. You know what I mean? Like, we connect. And so I left that meeting and I left our little conversation. I go to a meeting, my very first ever production meeting with Jerry McInnes, Mark Zona, and Tommy Sanders. And that's when you sit around and we talk about, hey, this is who we need to have a camera boat with.
Yeah.
Here's a story I'm hearing, these kind of things. So I went into the meeting, and I didn't say very much because, I mean, you're not going to say very much. I mean, Mike McInnes is there, Jerry McInnes, Tommy, Z, and I'm the new guy. And at the very end, they kind of look at me because I haven't said anything. And I said, well, I just want to let you know. I said, I met this kid, and I said, he may never catch a bass in his entire life. But if he does, I believe he has every single other asset it takes to be a success as a professional angler. You finished 6th in that tournament and made me look like I knew what the hell I was talking about. Yeah. So thank you.
And that's how you kept your job.
Yes. Yes, it's all because of you.
Was there a moment that week that that hit you where you're like, this is real?
The whole week. I'm such a geek for the sport. Like, I mean, just everything. Like, just being part of the Classic. It's just such a, and I still feel like that the morning of the Classic. I mean, the night before I have trouble sleeping. I mean, it's just, so there wasn't like one thing where I was like, gosh, there's so-and-so. It was just repetitively over and over again. Like, the weirdest thing, I'll tell you, when the Classic was over that week, I remember totally underestimated the job.
Yeah.
Totally.
Maybe that's why you weren't nervous.
Well, you know, I thought, I can do this. No, we had 3 to 4 hour fog delays every day. It's another reason me and you got to know each other. I mean, I interviewed your whole family in the bleachers because I was the new guy at the job. And I remember Chuck was just like, keep doing interviews, like for 3 hours, 4 hours. And so which is part of the reason that it became KVD Chassidor on number 4, because I had no voice. So I didn't know about managing, you know, energy and stuff, but I remember walking through the airport on Monday, and I've been through this week at the Classic, and you're just zooed, like you're just a zombie. And I remember walking past this wall of TVs in a bar, and it was showing the winning moment of it, like was showing the Classic, and I'm like, oh wow, there's the Bassmaster Classic, and I'm like, this is so cool. And then I came on, and I'm like, it's so unprofessional all of a sudden. So I remember that standing out. But I mean, there was a lot of really cool moments. Don't know if it was the best idea to start at the Classic, but I mean, I didn't make that choice.
Well, I mean, you made the most of it. So you, like me, we're both still here.
Yeah,
we both still have a job.
I remember going into it thinking like, there's a good chance I won't keep this job. Yeah. And if I don't, at least I can say I've emceed a Classic. Yeah. So there was that.
That's kind of a dangerous or a good place, I guess, in a way to say, is like you have no worries about it, and you can you come into it with no fear of like, go for it.
Yeah, it's probably freeing to not have that fear of like, oh, I hope I don't screw this up, especially in that job description. Like you need to be excited and things, so you need to go all out, kind of.
Yeah, but that's always been easy for me, the excited part. I mean, I get excited. I'm an excitable person. We stand beside the boat, and I start talking, and I get excited. So the management part is kind of toning that down. Like, when I first started, I think everybody, like, whether you weighed 12 pounds or 28 pounds, it was like, 12 pounds, 2 hours. Like, I mean, I had to learn to calm that down.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think sometimes now I feel like I'm managing so much more. Like, now in some ways it's not as pure. Like, back then I was like, well, what are we doing next? I didn't know ahead. And now you kind of know all the steps. I mean, I'm talking to photographers from the stage, like saying, hey, you better get a shot of this and different. Like, it is weird now, but it's
do you think
I'm thankful for it.
Do you think that makes you better at your job?
Which?
Knowing like what is happening, or you know, like all those things that were unknown when you went to the first Classic. Now you know those things. You know Lisa's timing on stage, weighing, and do you feel like it makes you better just knowing kind of the routine of how things are happening, and the timing of Lisa's weighing and her body demeanor and what's going to happen next? And do you feel like that makes you better just because you're able to look ahead?
You're more free.
Yeah.
You're more free to have fun. And when you're having fun on stage, you're generally doing a better job.
Yeah.
So yeah, the more you know about stuff like that, and it also allows you to know, like, there's been things like I've gone to go up during the Super 6, and I'm like, guess what? There is no Bassmaster Classic trophy on the stage. Somebody quickly gets, or we don't have a hot seat, or different things like that. So yeah, no, it definitely. I think the more comfortable you are, the you should be better at it, no matter what you do. You know, are you a better real estate agent the first time you show a house, or the 10th time you show that house?
Yeah.
Not just through like confidence in knowing what you have to do and how the show goes and how everything, you know, the variables.
Yeah. I think it's confidence, and I think I've talked about this on the fishing side of being able to make as many things just habit and like just, you know, they're almost living in your subconscious. Like, think about the first time that you threw a bait caster, and you have to think through that whole process. Like, I'm trying to teach Cora, my 3-year-old, how to fish a bait caster last week, and it's like you have to go back through all those steps, like push the button, you have to keep your thumb on it, and then you have to keep the right amount of pressure, and then you have to stop it when it hits the water. Well, now if I pick up a bait caster, all of those things are still happening in my brain, but I'm not thinking through it step by step by step by step. I just do it.
You know what you're using? You're using the limbic part of your brain.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
I don't know. I heard it on a podcast from a
You're
guy
just
one
throwing
time.
that out.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if that's actually right or not.
It's your limbic thinking or whatever.
Something like that. That controls your emotion.
But that is when you're best at everything.
Yeah. So it's like it's freeing up your mind to you know, put more into other areas. So like, you know, the timing of the fish, or just the routine of how a weigh-in is structured and how it goes and how long it's going to take. And so that you don't even have to think about it now. You just know you've done it enough times. Like, okay, this is the process. And now that process is kind of became second nature, or like it's in your subconscious. Even though you're thinking about it, you're not thinking about it like where it's taking away from, you know, you're announcing or what you're going to say.
You're able to think of other things. You're able to enjoy that. I mean, me and Tripp, and Tripp hasn't been here for a few years, but one of our last classics, we worked together. I stopped and worked it out, and I'm like, Tripp, me and you have spent a month of our life on the classic stage in days.
Yeah.
Like, when you think
just
about
the classic stage.
Just the classic stage. So
that's insane.
You know, start a new job and tell me how much better you are at said job a month later. You know, it's no different with you shooting, Kyle. I mean, when you shot that first event, you're like, well, what? Now you know, like when I watch you guys run around on Championship Sunday, even if, you know, no matter what you're covering, you know what's going to happen. You're able to be the thief of creativity, in my opinion, is being rushed. And that's what you feel when you don't know what's next.
Yeah, he's actually the opposite. He actually shot the first one better than he shot the last one.
Yeah.
Because now he knows too much, so he's
so
like,
I can be lazy.
I'll just fill that with a different hook set on a rock or something.
Hey, creative Justin Atkins says, don't let the truth ruin a good story.
Yeah.
So is he telling the truth now or not?
We don't know.
We don't even know if he's telling the truth about that. That makes him sound like such an untrustworthy person.
If you think about it, like a good storyteller has a little, you're not, I think McConaughey said this in Green Lights, where he goes, you can be a bullshitter in a story and you can still be a good story. You can't lie, you don't have to lie, but you can bullshit. You can embellish a little bit.
Yeah.
You just make it.
It's not a bold-faced lie. It's just you embellish.
That's literally every fish story since the very first fish was ever caught, I think.
Yeah. And it gets better in time.
Fish gets bigger.
You know, fish gets bigger. Story gets better.
What if Moby Dick was actually just like a small whale? He just grew over time.
I don't know.
If it tracks.
I don't think that's the truth.
Could that be the original fish story? All right, we're getting a lot off track right here, but
yeah, Moby Dick.
Moby Dick.
We went Moby Dick in a fishing podcast just like that.
Yeah. That's where this one lives. Dog's showing up. What's up, Bella? Bella's showing up to say hi. Who knows what we're going to end up with in this one, but that's, I don't know. I think that it's cool to think about that. I don't know if you've ever thought about like the impact that you have on the sport. You ever think about that?
No.
No?
I do not. I'm not arrogant. Sorry.
No,
Let me tell you about the greatness I have regaled this sport with.
That's a Ron Burgundy.
I think that no, I don't think that. I mean, do you ever think about the greatness you have regaled on this sport, Brandon Palnick?
Not when you put it like that. But I try to reflect on things of like making positive impacts on it. Or
Yeah.
like, yeah, that was a good thing, or like different ways like that. Because like me and Kyle were talking earlier, you know, like there's as new generations of anglers find the sport, right? Like at one time, I was an 8-year-old kid that found the sport. There was somebody different announcing that,
Yeah.
right? And there was a generation before that, and and there'll be generations later. But in current form and for many years to come, you are the Bob Cobb of this generation. You never thought about it like that?
No, that sounds super weird. But no,
but think
I
about
get what
like
you're saying, like
the sound bites and like for an entire generation, really a lot of the rookies we have now, the Tucker Smiths, the Logan Parks, you've been doing it for 15 years. This is your 15th year. When those kids, if you think about like back to their earliest memories of
Trey McKinney was 5 when I started.
I know. So think about that. When he was 5 when we both started. Like, so think about like as he grew up watching the Bassmaster Elite series, you have been the announcer the entire time. And so that sets the tone and like all the sound bites and all those things that live in all of the media and all the things that generation sees, and you know, generations from here before or after us, like that, to me, that is an impact, right? Like it doesn't seem like that big of a thing, right? Because you're announcing fish weights and like doing things like that. But the fact that you haven't thought about it a lot, I want you to think about that, because I've thought about it. That's a huge thing, and that's why I started off by saying thank you, because you're building like this generational part of our sport that you are the voice of that. Kevin's wins, my wins.
Totally
all
trying
these
to
things.
make me super awkward. I mean, this is all the stuff I struggle with.
Well, that's exactly why we had you on. And
I don't
want
to talk about me
different.
anymore. Let me talk to you about forward-facing sonar. What is your real feelings, Brandon Paul?
Nope, we're off.
No, here's what I do think. I don't think to say, do you feel you've had an impact or whatever? I mean, I feel like everybody that has a job, that should be your goal.
Yeah.
To have an impact, no matter what your job is. I try to think of the moments. Like, to me, I take all of that very personal. Like, day one of the Bassmaster Classic, I'm going to get your intro right. I've introduced you a bunch of times. But it's important to me to get all the rookies right, because to me, that's their first classic. That's the first time. Like, in their head, they've gone out and they've imagined that moment, so you want to do it justice. And I think you know this. Like, I mean, I take all of that stuff really personal, like in the way that, like, I mean, I screw up plenty. And when I do, I mean, I think I've said to you before, damn, I screwed up your intro at some point. You know, because you've way too many freaking accolades. It's exhausting. But I take that part of it very personal.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't look at it as it's my voice. It's the microphone I'm lucky to hold. And that's why, you know what I mean? Like, the power of the Bassmaster microphone is mighty, and I'm just it's an honor to hold it, and it's
you're the current placeholder of that.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, but like
when
it
does
seems
this podcast air?
It seems so.
What's going to happen this week?
It seems so simple in that, right? Like, oh, you're just holding a mic.
I'm holding a mic, and we're talking about the 5 biggest fish.
It is, until you've ever tried to do that job. It is not easy, but the impact that you have is so far greater than the 5,000 people standing there watching it live, or, you know, just the people watching on Bassmaster Live. It lives on for a long time, right? Like, they're still showing pieces of like Kevin, right? Like you said, like shuts the door on number 4. Well, Kevin retired. Like, that's his last Classic win. That doesn't go away. And like that soundbite lives on forever. And, you know, to me, that's just one piece of it. Because that moment is not the same if it's not your voice saying it, or like it doesn't have, if you don't say it the same way, if your voice doesn't crack like a little boy because you used it too much.
That was rude, but yeah.
That was not nice.
I've never heard that.
He said it
Not
before.
nice.
Let
me talk about last year's Classic,
But
oh, that's right.
Oh, the one that wasn't. Gets so defensive. He goes straight to the jugular.
I'll go scorecard.
He goes straight to the jugular.
But no. Like what Brandon says.
Same thing to you.
What is it?
Like, you've filmed for 8 years now. Like, filming the videos or even doing this podcast, like we think about it, we're like why do we keep doing it? Like, why do we keep filming the videos, right? Because you look at it and you're like, it's expensive, takes a lot of effort, and then there'll be that one person that's like, hey,
well, no, but look at what the
through.
impact Kyle's had on that whole, like, we have a horde of people that do what Kyle does on every dock every morning.
Yeah.
And they all look at Kyle as one of the, that's the guy.
He's the Rick Clunn of cameraman.
You are freaking Rick
He's
Clunn.
the Rick, that's what we say.
Yeah.
We joke about. He's the Rick Clunn of cameraman. 1, because he's the oldest, and 2, because he's been doing it the longest and legendary
I just can't
status.
retire. I just don't retire.
But that's it. It can get so monotonous because you're doing the same thing, right? Like, tournaments can get monotonous. You're doing the same thing. It's the same blast off. It's the same way in. You know, obviously there's like different story pieces, different fish catches. Like, there's different stories to be told within that. But the structure of it is the same.
Yeah.
Every tournament. And so it can get monotonous and seem like you're doing the same thing, and like that it's not impactful because it's, you know, you're like, oh, we just did that last week, or we just did that a couple weeks ago. And then there's, like, to us, it seems the same because we're living it and we're doing it over and over again. But just like you announcing, you creating the videos and the content, it has an impact farther than what we see. And it took me a long time to realize that. And
it does, but here's the other side of it. If I go to the hospital down the road and I try to, I'm very important. I introduce the Bassmasters. There's a doctor that's going to look at me and be like, no, you're just an idiot that didn't get a job at a bingo hall. Yeah. Like, it impacts our world.
Until you walk into that hospital and that dude is a hardcore bass fisherman.
Yeah. People look at you guys, and I see it like at weigh-ins, at the Classic, whatnot. And you make an impact in their life, both you guys. Like, and I see it. They look up at you.
So uncomfortable.
I know, but like, you got to take this uncomfortable bit.
This is exactly why.
But it is important because you guys further the sport. This is the period of time that you guys get to hold the torch for bass fishing. And both of you guys, I know, take a lot of pride in the history of bass fishing. So you know the people before you, and this is just your period to take the 10 steps forward or 10 steps back that you can do in the sport and further the sport. And you guys, I personally, from the outside, see you guys taking the 10 steps forward, and it's a really cool thing to see how much you guys love the sport, but not only love the sport, but like care about the next generation of the sport too.
Yeah.
That's what we just talked about when you and I talked on the phone. You read the stuff that you wrote down. I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to give it away. He's going to use it. It's amazing. But I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about. Right? It was like, these moments will pass. And so then it's like making the most of those as it continues to go on. And I just wanted you to know that you have that impact. You don't have to get into it. I know it's awkward for you talking about yourself on that.
It's a character trait that I am very bad with. Yeah. Like, I'm bad with.
Well, we're here to help you become better.
I think I've just been insulted a lot in my life, and I'm much more comfortable with that. I mean, as I proved, I will defend myself.
Yeah.
It's a drop of a hat. But no, very uncomfortable with stuff like that. But it is, like, that's ultimately, it's the truth about life. This is your time.
Yeah.
It's not always going to be your time. That's going to change in everything. And the more I look, that's really what fuels me as a person. You know what I mean? Like this is, I mean, no matter what, whether it's the bass stuff, whether it's making the TV show, whatever, but this, like, it's not always going to be that.
No.
You know, and enjoy, I think so often people get so focused on, and I'm bad that way, where when you check one thing off, you're like, okay, next. Like, and you're bad that way too, where you don't stop and say, whew, I won a tournament. Let's enjoy this. You're on to the next one and chasing the next. And I think that's a very healthy thing to have, but it's also, it's important to enjoy everything because, I mean, I told you a story about my kids a while ago, and my son had really bad night terrors for years.
Yeah.
And every night he would wake up and we would hear his feet come running down the hall. And it would be the middle of the night and he would jump in the bed and normally would
That's my life right now.
in the and when you heard that sound coming down the hall, you'd be like, oh no, he's up again. Here he comes.
Yeah.
And a few years ago, Sarah said to me, what would you pay to hear that sound again? Like even a negative, like
100%.
Enjoy what you have because it isn't forever. And that's not just fishing, that's everything. That's literally life.
Yeah. There's been several times that Tiff and I have just been, you know, like the kids aren't sleeping, they're sick, whatever. Like when our youngest one was younger, like she was just way tougher and just cried a lot and didn't sleep well. And like you can barely keep your eyeballs open and you're like, okay, we got to go take care of her again. And you're just wishing it to stop for a little bit. And
until it does.
And we've had that conversation many times. You're like, there will be a point when these halls are quiet and these rooms are quiet, and all we're going to wish is that we heard that crying baby down the hall again. And it's like you trying to keep that perspective for me and her as well, I think has helped when you're in those moments, like when you're in the trenches of that, of saying, okay, it's not that bad. It's only temporary. And we'll like push through that. What you had something you were gonna say?
No, you have a saying, kind of a slogan, is enjoy being, correct?
Yeah.
And that kind of ties into like,
that's where that came from.
Just be here, be like, and enjoy those moments. Enjoy the moments where you get to weigh in, because someday you might not be, be 70 years old and be like, oh, I remember that day, or like remember the girls when they were, running into your room or something. Like the things that seem like a struggle in 30 years might not be the struggle. You might be like, that was the thing.
So I tell all the young guys when they're about to win their first blue trophy, we, tell them good job, but before they go on stage, I tell them all, like, soak it in.
Yeah.
Because when you're young, I made this mistake. I didn't, like, you almost take it for granted.
Yeah.
When you win early on in your career,
natural.
You don't know or really understand how hard it is if you come in your first or second year and you win. You might go 5 or 6 years before you win again.
Yeah.
It's like once you've done it once, you've proved you can do it again.
Or you may never
never
win again.
There's plenty of guys that have done that.
Yeah.
And I always just tell them, and who knows whether or not they actually do it or not, but like just take in the moment.
Yeah.
Right? Like take in the sounds of the crowd, all of it. Like just be in the moment and live in it so that you can soak it in. And that's I guess easier said than done. Must come with age.
But that's literally where enjoy being came from. That's when I started saying it. Before I ever said it publicly, I started thinking it always. At one point, I mean, I've been really lucky in life, just very blessed in so many ways. And I've got to live some crazy things, and everything's relative, you know what I mean? Like I said, it's fishing. We're not curing cancer, but I've got to do a lot of cool things. And somebody asked me one year, somebody said, what is it like? What does the crowd look like when you look out at them at the Classic? And I remember explaining it to them, and when it was coming out of my mouth, I'm like, I'm lying to this person. Like, it was at a seminar where they were asking, I'm like, oh, it's this and that. You focus on a person. And then I stopped and I thought, and I'm like, I don't really even know what the crowd, because life is coming at you so quick, and you've got these opportunities and these things, and you don't stop and enjoy it. And that's where being came. Enjoy being wherever you are is enjoy it. We're doing a podcast right now. It's real easy, and there's been times in life where I've been like, oh, I gotta get to the next thing. I gotta get to that.
Yeah.
And enjoy being helps me stay centered and be like, enjoy nothing. I can't change what is happening in the world right now, but I can have a good conversation with two people that I really like. And focusing on getting to the next thing takes away from that. Yeah. So,
and it took us months to get this done.
It really did. It really did. It was ridiculous.
Months and months.
It was ridiculous.
We kept saying, "Oh, we'll do it at this one," and then that didn't work. We'll do it at this one, and then you took the initiative and you flew in a day early.
Just for you.
We had an off day.
What a guy.
That's how many times I stood you up. I literally was like, I got to show up. I got it. And right now at home, it is paradise. And you know how many times I was like, maybe I should just call Brandon and say I'm going to show up on Wednesday and we'll do it one evening. But I didn't because
it's good. I'm glad you didn't.
I care about you.
I'm glad you didn't.
I'm glad I didn't too.
Is that?
Hopefully the viewers are.
Has it gotten easier or more difficult as you've been doing it longer to leave home?
That hasn't changed. That's hard. It's
just
always hard. It's always hard. I never sleep good the first night I'm away.
Yeah.
Like last night I didn't sleep. I never do. The first night I'm away, I hate leaving home. But again, I look at that as a very positive thing. I have buddies who cannot wait to get out the damn door.
Yep.
I'm very lucky to have a family that I love to be with. My favorite line in any movie is from Perfect Storm. I got a woman I can't stand to be 5 feet away from. But then again, I love to fish.
That could be said true for probably everybody that listens to this. Most likely. At least 99% of the people that listen or watch this. And you do have an amazing family. I have met your entire family. Your wife is probably one of the greatest humans on this earth in the little amount of time I've got to spend with her.
I agree.
Smart man.
How long have you guys been together?
We've been together now 22 years. Been married for 22 years.
Dang.
Met in grade 5.
Trey wasn't even alive.
No. And I was...
What?
Well, I was creating.
You were creating. Yeah. You created one of your amazing children, Cadence.
Yeah. Daughter Cadence and son Jack.
How old is she now?
20.
20.
Wow.
She's Trey McKinney's age.
So wild.
So weird.
And you've talked about this before. Cadence is autistic.
Uh-huh.
And what level, or like, is there a level, or like, because like sometimes they say like high functioning, or because to me
it keeps changing. The whole reason the symbol for autism is a puzzle piece is because there's no, like in other things, if you have a cold, this is what you take and this is the answer. For autism, there's no, everybody's different.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, in the time she's had autism, which is her whole life, but in the time we know when she's been diagnosed with autism, and that's changed, like what level it is.
Yeah.
She's very high functioning. There's two, I mean, autism, there you get kids that are nonverbal, and then you get kids that will not even shut up, like Cadence. And Cadence is the second. But it's amazing because it's like a superpower. Like around our house, a lot of times I'll say, thanks. Like I said to her, thanks, autism. Because, like, for example, like I said, when you were a little kid, if you knew that you would be able to go to school with a white shepherd, like you got your own dog, to take to school. What would you have signed up to do that? Well, thanks, autism. Like that.
Yeah.
So for all of the struggles that she deals with, there's a lot of positive that comes from it. And she's an amazing person, the way she looks at things. Her mind is wild.
She's one of my favorite people to be around. Like when they've came to the St. Lawrence River and things like that, every time me and Tiff walk away, and we're just like massive smiles on our face, because she is a massive light, like in a dark world, right? Whenever she's around, even though I know she's had, struggles, and you guys have struggled with things, I'm sure, more than I know. But like every time we leave a conversation or something, we're always smiling because she's so positive and so happy every time. And like just the stories, talking about, is she's still doing the taxidermy thing?
Yeah. Wants to be a taxidermist.
That's like one of my favorite things. And,
no interest in mounting fish.
Yeah, doesn't want to mount fish, but like every other creature.
Yeah, everything her father doesn't do. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, when I tell people she wants to be taxidermist, right away they're like, "Oh yeah, so for fish, no interest in that whatsoever."
I think that's like having those conversations with her, and you see how excited she gets about it, and I'm like, how do you even get into that? Like where it comes from, but that's something that she does, that she's good at, that she enjoys. And excuse me. I remember I'm gonna cough again.
Very unprofessional.
This
would never happen on a
No, but I don't know exactly where you're going with this. I'll let you take a break.
To the hospital by the sounds of things.
It's like I swallowed a bug or something.
No, but I think to see her passion. For me, I get excited when I see anybody that has a passion for something.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing. Like you guys love fishing. Like I love when people are obsessed with the thing, not just because they have to do it, because they want to do it. And when you see someone that wants to do it, that's a beautiful thing. And like taxidermy, it could be that you love butterflies. It could be anything, whatever it is. If you have a passion and you go for it, I am drawn to those people. And that's a cool thing to see in anybody.
Those are the true lucky people, I think. Like if you find that, because there's a lot of people that don't have that, don't have that thing, and they're living life and they're enjoying, but they don't have that. But to have that, and we've always pushed that with the kids. Like, I mean, when your dad is a professional angler, tournament announcer, you can't tell your kid, you need to stay in school and become a doctor. Like, you just chase your dreams. Like, you got one life to live and live it. And and I just find that it's easier. Again, in my life, I could announce other things, I'm sure. I've had opportunities to do, but I don't know that I would announce it like the same. I'm a ridiculous idiot up there, like the stuff that I say and do, but it's because I love this. And you'll always be, Jim Carrey grew up not far from me. I didn't know him or anything, but he told a really famous story, and it's always stood out to me. And his family actually lived in a factory for a while. They were that broke. And I actually worked across the street from the factory they worked in, and it was a tire factory. And his dad was an accountant. And he said his dad, he tells us, you should Google it, a commencement speech that he gives, and it's incredible. But basically, he talks about his dad being so funny. He said, my dad was one of the funniest, could have been worlds more famous than Jim Carrey. He was just so funny. He said, but his dad, he did the safe thing. And he said he became an accountant. And he took care of his family, and everything went well. And then the economy went bad. And guess what? He lost his job. And that's when the family literally moved into a tire factory. His dad got the job to clean the tire factory. He didn't have any staff. His family would live there at night. They would clean, and then they would sleep for a period of time. His siblings and everything, that's what they would do. And he said it was at that moment that he realized sometimes even being safe, you can fail. Mm-hmm. So you might as well take a risk and do something you love. And that's why he chased the dream that he chased. And I think that's the truth for everybody. if you had have stayed as a lumberjack,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's an official term.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it is a term, yeah.
that'd be great. Going to bars. What do you do? I'm a lumberjack.
But the thing is I already knew before I started building logging roads and cutting trees, I already knew I wanted to fish for a living.
Yeah.
That was just to make money. That was just
Means to an end.
Yeah, it was just fueling. And that's all that, like, I hope for my kids.
Yeah.
Like, I want them to find that thing that they're passionate about, and I'll help them in that.
Yeah.
Because people ask, like, oh, are your girl's going to wrestle, or are they going to fish for a living? Or I'm like, I don't know. That's up for them to decide. Outside of being a thief or a drug dealer, they're pretty open to whatever they want to be passionate about, right? That I'm not going to put guardrails on. And you just hope that you teach them, you know, the confidence and the right things to go after those and do them while being a decent human.
I think, honestly, the three things that I think are so important in life is find something you really love, be a good human,
Yeah.
and work your ass off. Is literally the three things that I think will make anybody successful at anything. And I get it where people will hear this and be like, well, I want to be a pro angler. I want to be whatever. But if you love it enough, if you really love it enough that you can't live without it,
Yeah.
you'll achieve it. If you're a good human, people will help you get there. And if you're willing to work your ass off, that's always the first person you hire.
Yeah.
When you think about it, like, and talent gets thrown around as this great thing. Like, oh, talent's great, but it only lasts for a set amount of time. And if you're not a good human, and if you're not a hard worker, the second that talent goes away, if you look at it in sports, I mean, there's that talented kid who's a super quarterback, and he's got all the talent in the world, but doesn't have the work ethic.
Yeah.
He's not really a nice person.
They just disappeared.
As soon as that talent goes, they go as well.
Yeah.
But if they're a good person and they work hard, people still want to be around you. And I honestly think no matter what you do for a living, that is simple. It's simple, but it's how I keep saying.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I tell the kids all the time.
Yeah.
Do you, what cracks me up is your son, Jack, also. Would you say he's not polar opposite of you?
No, he's got a lot of, he's getting more of me in him. Like
as every son does, like their father. But, like,
it's a lot like Sarah.
Which is probably a good thing for him.
Yeah.
But I like just the things that, like, he wants to go do and
he wants to live in New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah, total opposite of me. All he's ever been exposed to is nature. I want to live in New York City. And I'm like, anytime I've ever spent in New York City, I hate people in New York City are fine.
Yeah.
I dislike cities. Like, when I get in a city, I'm like, well, what happens if we all need to leave here? This is going to be a problem. I mean, a theme park. If I go to a theme park, I literally had a nightmare 3-4 days ago where I was like, and I can't remember the whole details, but I told Sarah next morning, I'm like, we were in Disney or something. We were staying at a resort right there. And all I could think, I was sitting on the balcony thinking, if everybody's got to leave here all of a sudden, what's going to happen? Like, so yeah, no, Jack is total opposite of me that way.
Oh, like he did. But he's also like he's always seemed so much older to me.
Pretty mature kid. He
For
is.
his, like, I've always felt like he was super mature. And I don't know, obviously that comes from some of his parenting, mostly Sarah.
Definitely.
But also probably just personality, you know, and then that leads into, like, the things that, like wanting to go to New York City. Have you ever been to New York City?
No, I'm not a city guy either.
I'm not either. Like, but, and like, you don't want to be around these big crowds, but yet you announce to
How weird.
Giant crowds.
It's so weird about it. It's funny you bring that up because I don't even like going to events. Like, to be in the crowd, I'm like, I don't want any part of that. I love the stage, but I don't want to have to deal with.
You want this little safety barrier of
lining up and none of that.
Do you get energy from being on stage? Like,
yeah.
I was gonna say, and then you get off stage and you're just like, ugh. Like,
no, I'm a
really?
spaz for the first.
Really?
You cannot take into account anything I say for at least 30 minutes after I get off the stage. Overstreet used to make fun of me because me and him used to share an office in the media trailer, and he'd be like, "You're just such a spaz. You're geeked out." Like, the bigger the crowd, the more you're spazzed out. The more you're kind of. It's a drug. Like it's total. And I'm like, could you imagine if these people were actually here for me? They're literally, I'm introducing people and I get geeked out about it. But yeah, no, I definitely get an energy from it. Like, and that's also like when I went through that stage where my back was really bad. Like, it was never bad during the class. Like, it was bad, but you'd go on stage and you'd be like, it is a drug. Like, you hear wrestlers talk about how they can't practice wrestling, professional wrestling, not the kind.
I know. That's the really like confusing part about that. Not to get off and like they call it pro wrestling, but it's like,
but it's not
real. Like,
but they do it for a living.
It is real.
I know. They make way more money.
Yeah. But they talk about how they can't practice certain things without a crowd because you feed off that crowd. Like I mean, no, it is a drug for me though. But I think Jack has and Cadence has that drug in them. They like that.
A little attention.
Oh, yeah.
Like that,
They feed off of it.
Yeah, they feed off it.
Cadence
more than Jack. But Jack's super funny. Like, Jack's a really, like, I tell Jack, I'm like, just become a comedian, son.
He's sleepy funny.
Like
he's
like
sleeper.
that timing on it.
Yeah, because he's so, like, he's always just seemed so much more mature than his age, but then he'll just, like, throw that out there. Like, that, it's like the really smart, funny kind of deal, you know, where they're just, it's almost like they're another level above you. And I'm always like, huh?
Just so you know, my kids are never allowed to listen. If you're listening to this podcast, children, turn it off right now. I don't believe any of this. No, they're great kids. I mean, they honestly are. And Jack's, I mean, growing up with Cadence, that their dynamic's pretty, you know, because he grew up. And just because of the situation, Cadence got a lot of the attention. Yeah. Even with groups, you know what I mean? She's the first person that gets the attention.
Yep.
And he's real good at dealing with that. He's a good little brother.
Even though he's younger brother, he's like, he also is protective brother in some senses.
Very much
probably. Which is amazing. And if at any point you just say, like,
do you
I
think
don't want to talk about
anyone's
that.
listening to this podcast about my children?
It's
Other
about so much more
than
it's about so much more than just your children. There's life lessons to be taken out of a lot of this.
Okay, sorry.
Like, at what point did you guys find out, or like what that Cadence would not that you were having a kid, that Cadence was autistic?
Oh, that's a crazy story.
Like, what? Like, because there may be somebody listening to this that's like, hey, I don't, like, we think so, maybe, I don't know. I know my stepbrother dealt with it. Like, my niece is autistic. You know, and at first you're like, no, I don't know. Like, they're just maybe a little bit behind or something. And then, you know, over time you're like, okay, let's like do some tests and things. So, like, what, like, was there a moment or?
Oh, yeah, there was a very big moment, and it's wild. I don't know if I've ever told you this or even told many people.
I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
My very first classic.
Really?
The Sunday before weigh-in. So Sarah had gone to. We knew there was a doctor's appointment, and me being a dumb husband, when you called and you're like, so what happened in the doctor's appointment? And she said, well, we'll talk about it when you get home. And I'm not smart enough to be like, okay, well, we'll just talk about it when you get home. I kept pushing. I'm like, no, tell me, what did they say? Like, what's up with, because she'd gone through a bunch of tests, and we knew that we were gonna find out, what they were saying she's dealing with. And literally the Sunday, I think it was like 45 minutes before I went on stage, 30 minutes before I went on stage, I'm talking to Sarah, and I pushed her, and she said, well, Cadence is autistic. And when you hear that as a parent, when you hear anything, and trust me, there's so many, it's a blessing in so many ways, but there's so many, when you hear anything about your kid, that like every parent knows that, it kind of, it's a kick in the nuts. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're just like, because you instantly, I think when you find out the whole pregnancy thing is weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's even weirder for guys because you spend your whole life so scared of
I know
somebody getting pregnant, and then you're like, we're going to try.
Yeah. And you're like, that wasn't actually as easy as I thought it was supposed to be.
But then when you find out that you're expecting a child, I think most guys are the same, and they go through the, like, initially you're like, I want a boy, I want this, or I want that, which I never was that guy. Like, I was like, I went instantly to, I just want my kid to be healthy and happy.
Yeah.
Like, literally, that's still today. I just want my kids to be healthy and happy. And hearing that about Cadence, and I didn't even know what autism was at the time. I just knew it had a name.
Yeah.
And I knew she had something. And I remember it being like, God. And I remember going into the green room by myself, and I'm like, and I cried. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I remember thinking, I got to go MC the Classic. Like, I got...
That's mind-blowing.
And it was wild, yeah.
I had no idea.
First, yeah. I don't often talk,
I was going to say that, you guys didn't find out that long ago, but I'm like, yeah, that was 15 years ago.
Yeah. So she was 5. Yeah.
So, like, that's pretty late. Is that late? I guess I don't know. By
today's standards, it's late.
Yeah.
By 15 years ago, we were very, you have to advocate for your kids in everything.
Yeah.
And Sarah pushed hard to get some answers.
Yeah.
So 5 was pretty, where it's late today. But
Yeah.
if you look at how autism has changed, just the amount of acceptance, the amount of, I knew nothing about it. There's very few people that don't know anything about autism anymore. I mean, it's just, so yeah, I mean, I'd say it was about right on time at that point.
Yeah.
But now you would generally know a little earlier.
I'm still, like, mind blown that, like, that is a huge thing to take on and then just flip that switch.
Yeah, that was weird. It was weird. And now it will be different because now I have a lot of tight friends. I have people I could pull aside and be like, and talk to for a minute. Then I was like, I just can't.
You didn't know anybody.
I just need to stop even thinking about this. And it's weird. It was a weird thing to go through. But it.
You literally had to flip a switch and, like, enjoy being for that moment without. Yeah, that's hard.
But that's how life is too. Like, let's be honest. Like,
I know, but having kids of my own now, I'm just thinking about.
Yeah.
Like, if I was having a conversation and you, like, hear something about your kid and then you're like, okay, now I got to go, like, fish a tournament. I don't know.
I think one thing that comes to me, and I might be ignorant in this, not having kids, but, like, you want to know answers to things, and then to go out and not have answers but have to put the mask on and do the thing. But in the back of your head, that's still kind of like, okay, so what about this, or what's this mean, or you know what I mean? Like, those kind of things, that would be a very challenging thing, I think, to go up and do your job when you want to know.
But that's being an adult.
Yeah.
Everybody, you went. I mean, dude, was it hard? How did you focus trying to win Angler of the Year when you knew Tiff's maybe in labor? You know what I mean? Like, I think we all go through. It's the truth about it. Sarah says it all the time, and she didn't create the saying. I mean, there's a bunch of people who have said it over the years, but everybody's got a battle. You just don't know what it is. And it's true. The person that you walk into in the mall, the person, like, they're all dealing with something, and you don't know what that is.
We've been friends for 15 years, and I had no idea that that's when you found out.
Yeah, I don't know,
but now I kind of feel like a bad friend that I've never.
You're a bad
never
friend.
talked
Made
about
me
it.
flying a day early for this. And then you almost made me cry.
At least I made the sun go away.
That's wonderful out here, really.
I had
For Oklahoma.
I wish I had that kind of control.
All we're missing is burritos.
Hey.
Too bad a guy with a truck didn't offer to show up.
I know. That would have been great.
Oh man.
That do you ever feel guilty? Like
Every day.
like leaving and doing
Every
that?
day.
Because I get that sometimes.
Feel guilty, feel selfish.
Yeah, and you're like, I'm about to go do the thing I love that's time consuming. But then like I also love it. And like you have to go do it to be who you are. And where does that come from you? Is it like more, I guess, where does it come from and how do you deal with it?
I think that you're always going to be guilty. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's parenting. I think, honestly, you're always going to, because I look at it and I'm like, man, chasing this dream is kind of selfish. Like, let's be honest. I mean, kids just want you to be around. Like, there's a certain level of selfishness I think it takes to chase any dream. Like, you have to say, I want to do.
100%.
Your kids would be just as happy if you were at home. All that, maybe happier in some situations, you know. So there's a guilt that way. But I also have buddies who grew up in the same town that I grew up in, and they feel guilty that they never traveled.
Yeah,
but they've stayed in that town. So I think that that's just, it's normal. This job has allowed my kids to see that, hey, you can chase a dream. This is real. This job has also allowed my kids to see some pretty cool things, go some pretty cool places. So, but I think all parents, if they're being totally honest, you're going to be guilty at times. You know? Like, it's a horrible.
Yeah.
Don't do it, Kyle.
Yeah, it's like the most difficult and most rewarding thing
100%
at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's special too that your kids, like you kind of alluded to, is like your kids get to see you chase the thing that you love. So it shows them in a shining example of like, do the thing you want. It's hard to leave your house, but like that's part of the job where you have to, your kids see, hey, my dad's doing something he loves. It's something unique. It isn't necessarily a 9 to 5, but it's something that's, I get to see him chase the thing he loves. So now Jack's like, I'm going to go do the thing I want to do, you know, and Cora's going to be like, my dad fishes for a living. It's not the traditional job, but I know it's okay to go do that. And that's a beautiful thing too, I think.
And being present when you are home.
Yeah.
Like
that's huge.
That's a big part of it. And you, as all of us, get pulled in a lot of different directions, even when you're not at a tournament. And there's always something to be done.
Yeah.
You know, if you're that personality type where you're like, there's always more. You've got the TV show, so there's always that. You've got the podcast. Like, there's always other things, but then also taking those moments and being present, because just because you're working a 9 to 5 doesn't mean, you know, there's plenty of guys, girls, whatever, you know, they work a 9 to 5, they come home and they're not present.
No, I got buddies who live at home, and that Monday's poker night, Tuesdays, you know, hockey night, Wednesdays, you know, whatever.
And so I think, like, being gone, you know, for a week at a time or something, or 2 weeks in a row or something, doesn't have the negative impact that we often put on ourselves. Right, like from that guilt.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's your life. It's what it, you know.
It is what it is.
No, it is what it is in some ways. Like, my kids are used to it. They don't like me leaving, but there's so many lessons that they've learned from it, I think. And I didn't have a lot of other options. I don't think, you know, like,
Yeah.
I mean, literally my whole life has been a means to an end. Like, I remember fishing tournaments and guiding through high school and everything. And when that all ended, I was like, man, I got to figure out something to do. And I fished tournaments for a few years. But even then I was like, I don't want to be one of these guys who's gone for months at a time. Like that's when, and even when I talk about how much I'm gone, I feel like an idiot because there's some dude in the military that's watching this right now. And he's like, oh, you go for 2 weeks? Yeah. I feel so bad for you. Yeah. I mean, I've been gone for
Not
2 years. Like Davey Height's son is an Army Ranger. And it's one of the most wild things in my head to think that Davey Height doesn't even know where his son is half the time.
Yeah.
Knows his son is somewhere fighting some bad guys.
Yeah.
Has no idea where he is. Isn't allowed to know where. Like, that to me is the ultimate, like, so you can't even compare those things. But I think that everything that I've ever been lucky enough to do. So I remember, like, 2 years into kind of fishing tournaments and realizing I don't want to do this full time, but I want to still chase this dream. And then I started focusing on TV, but it was literally a means to an end. Like, I remember thinking, like, I got to turn this fishing. I don't want to stop fishing. I got to find a way to turn this fishing into a job so that when I have responsibilities, I can be like, I got to go to work now. And literally everything that I've been lucky enough to do is just a means to an end. It's like, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird.
All centered around fishing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But some form or fashion, I'm going to make money to continue to do this.
Well, my parents were big dreamers. And I think that that's one of the most, like, to tell your kids to dream. Like, the worst thing that happens in the world, and it happened to me growing up a lot, it happens to everybody, is people that stifle your dreams. Now, you can't do that, kid. Tell your kid it's going to be hard. That's fine. But to say you can't do that, I don't believe that. Like, I believe you can be whatever you want to be. Like, if you, there's not a bone of me that doesn't believe that if you had have loved acting as much as you love tournament fishing, as much as you love being a Bassmaster Pro, you'd be an actor in Hollywood right now. There's zero part of me that does not believe that you could, because if you were willing to put in that same amount of work and effort, you would have accomplished it, you know? Like, and it seems out, oh, come on, he's not going to be an actor. Yeah, if you put in that same, if you loved it just as much, you could totally do that. We live in a stupid time. I mean, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, literally. I mean, you make money a million different ways, it seems like now. Depending on what you're interested in, what you want to do. You can make videos about it. You can talk about it. Yeah. Like, there's a bunch of different ways to do that. But
your kids won't even want to do anything. I just want to be on YouTube.
That's a current trend, actually.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
What do you want to be?
Young kids want to be YouTubers.
Yeah.
Of all things. And you can YouTube about anything. Like, I don't know. Like you said, like, if you want to be an actor and you love acting, the act of acting, you are so obsessed as much as you guys both love fishing, you're going to find a way to do it. Like, you're going 100%. To go through the struggle. Like, doing what you do fishing, you tell me the story, I'll be like, not a chance that I would go through that. The same with you. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing. You guys love what you do, and you chased it through the hardship, through the tough of it, because you loved it.
Yeah. 100%.
But you have to love it. You can't love the end result.
You can't love the people.
There's a lot of people that come and say, I'd love to be that actor that just won an Oscar. No. You have to love acting.
Yeah.
You have to love fishing. You have to love the act of this. That's what sets it aside, because there's a lot of people who come along, and you got a lot of young anglers on their way up, and you meet a lot of high school, and there's kids who you're like, that kid loves, he doesn't just love it, he needs it. This is what makes that person who they are. And then there's other people who's like, I'd love to be Kevin Van Dam. Yeah. Well, guess what?
You can tell the difference.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Fast.
Yeah.
Like, you meet, and I've been doing this long enough now, like, I've met several, like, younger guys that now are there.
Yeah.
Like, I remember meeting Trey when he was, like, I mean, this wasn't that long ago, really, I guess, because he's so young, but he was, like, I don't know, 14, 15, something like that. And I was like, he's on a different level. Like,
Jay Shakurat.
Like, this is all
chased
he
you
does.
around in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Yeah, that's wild. I didn't know that.
And 10 years later, he's here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just wild. Like that.
He's leading AOY.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's it. Even if you go back and you look at like tournament results and stuff, it's so funny to look back and like that guy's been catching them his whole life.
Uh-huh.
It's like when I won as a co-angler, I think Pipkins and Micah Frazier were both in the top 10 of that same tournament. Didn't know them at all, but they were both in an FLW tournament as co-anglers. They both caught them, right? So, like, it didn't even matter if you were running the boat, weren't running the boat. There's just guys that, like, yeah, they've put in that much time, that much effort. They've made that many sacrifices, whether it's with their families or, high school kids are like, nope, not going out with my friends Friday. I'm going to work on tackle and I'm going to rig my boat and I'm going to fish tournament on Saturday. Like you do that enough times, like eventually that success finds you.
And there's
you find it.
No better feeling in the world. I'm sure you've experienced this. When you run into people that you haven't seen in a long, long time. Like I'm talking people you went to school with and they're like, you're actually doing
the thing you said, yeah.
You said you were gonna fish, and we all laughed at you.
Yeah.
Somehow you found a way. Like that is the greatest feeling on earth. And it's not a feel. It's just like, yeah, I'm the same kid I was. I mean, everything I do for a living is what I was when I was a kid. It's
it's one of my favorite things. Like texting my 4th and 5th grade, 6th grade teacher, like teaching or talking to my elementary teachers now that follow the sport because I made it doing the thing that I said I was going to do that.
Yeah.
And they're like, kid from Idaho. Like, the cool thing is, though, is that they always supported me. Like, the people that the teachers that I'm still in touch with now were the ones then that supported me.
Yeah.
The ones that are like, yeah, okay, good luck. I don't talk with those ones. But the ones that are always like, that's cool. Like, they saw something that said, okay, go ahead.
But that also goes back to what we said about really loving what you do.
Yeah.
Because that teacher that you connected with loves teaching.
Yeah.
There's a lot of teachers, and trust me, that's a tough job. I would not want to be a teacher in today's world. Yeah,
we got a tornado coming or what? The wind has started ripping.
But those teachers, and everybody knows them. Everybody listening to this had a teacher, a few teachers in your life that you look back and Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so, and you think about them to this day. And what they had was they loved teaching. And that's why you connected with them.
It's 100%. Infectious. I think goes back to anybody that has a passion for something will know that. You recognize the passion in somebody that comes up to you, a kid coming up that loves fishing. You can nurture that. You can give it nourishment in a way. Yeah. And I think goes back to podcast with Carl. One of the things it stuck with me now is if you have a goal, no matter how crazy it is, tell people. Tell them you want to fish professionally. Because then not only does it put you to the fire and it kind of you're I have to do this now. When you have a goal, I think you should tell people. And you have a goal to do something, fish professionally. You told people and they're like, you got a plan B? But I think that's a powerful thing because you have no going back after that. And it puts you to it to do it. I have a question, a technical question on the MCing side.
Oh boy, here we go. Back to fishing.
You're running out of time. You're running out of time.
I know. This is going to be my last question because I always have a last question. But how do you remember everybody's things? I'm always amazed by that. That is 103 bits of information, where they're at, what they've done, and that that's in your head. It's not something.
Bella's
pulling my cord.
I know. She just.
Oh, wow, she is totally.
She's laying.
She is shutting down the whole thing. She is.
She's laying underneath the table and she is all wrapped up in the cords, but she won't move. This is
Bella's way of-
10-year-old Bella going, guys, you figure it
She
out.
laid down and just jerked my head with the cord.
I'm not moving, guys.
I've had enough of this podcast.
Yeah, how do you remember everything?
I love it. It goes back to the same thing I love this sport. I love the. So, I mean, how do I remember it? I mean, physically, I go through stuff. Like, you know what I mean? I write down things. Like, when there's new people and stuff like that, I mean, for me, a big trick with remembering things is just to write it down.
Yeah.
If I read it 100 times, I still won't remember it. But if I physically go through writing it down, whether it's text or physically writing it, it just helps me remember things. But it matters enough to me, honestly. I think that's why. Because I don't think that I have this exceptional memory. Like, I don't think that, like, I think I forget a lot of stuff. But I remember that stuff. I don't know. I don't know why, but I'm sure it'll be a problem at some point. At some point, people will be like, he just doesn't remember like he used to. Should have seen old Dave. Old Dave used to remember stuff. Now, I mean, even Elvis at one time had a teleprompter. Wrote the damn words to the song, but still need the machine to tell him what they were. I mean, that may have been drug induced.
Yeah, I think he had a few extra curricular activities.
So you do like practice on that every year?
I don't practice. Like, I don't stand in front of the mirror and go.
I picture like a Ron
Prodigy.
Burgundy. Yeah, picture like a Ron Burgundy moment.
No, but I do research. Like, I go into, like, the Classic, the beginning of the season, I do research. It's, like anything, as the season goes on, you get a little bit better at it and stuff like that. But, yeah, no, I do research going into the season. I mean, I think it's disrespectful to the job if you don't.
Yeah.
I mean, for me not to research, it's funny because I'm announcing people, it's looked at differently. But, I mean, if he showed up, if he showed up at events and didn't pre-fish and just said, hey, I'm going to let her rip, Tater Chip, you'd be like, this guy is not respecting the situation, the position he's in.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about that kind of stuff. So that's just how I remember it. I don't know. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Trust me, there's moments where I'm like, yeah, that did not.
One of my favorite things is when you do the top 10s and you're behind stage and you're hyping the guys up by saying everything. Like, and I'm just like, I am always, every time you do that, I'm amazed. One, you can do it with the personality that you do it with. And then two, your memory of knowing where they're at and how they do it and pronouncing everything. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's a skill.
And it's one-on-one.
Yeah, and you're like staring them down, so it's like you're stoking them up. Like,
in some ways, I liked it better before anyone knew about it. Like, I mean, nobody said, hey, you got to go backstage and start yelling at the guys. It just became a thing. We did top 10 intros, which before I started here, they were done on stage where the MC would just read out the top 10 and they would come out.
Yeah.
And then somehow, at some point, I went backstage and then it got more and more ridiculous. I got closer to you guys. I watched way too much UFC, Bruce Buffer. And it's the cool thing about that. So I kind of liked it better when nobody knew about it. Like, it was just me and the anglers got to. Now I mean, there's always a lot of cameras back there, so it's different. But it's kind of I don't know. To me, the thing that bothers me about fishing is you guys don't get that moment. You guys don't get that. I mean, in the Masters, when you sink the putt, you're surrounded by thousands of people, and you hear the gallery react. You guys don't get that. You know what I mean? You get a few people cheering on the water, and that's gotten less because of live. I mean, it was so much more at the beginning of your career, how many people were out in the water. Now you can cover it so well just at your house, so we don't have as much a crowd. So I feel like that's the moment. Like, that's why I do all kind of the stuff I do, to try and give you guys that moment because you deserve it. And
like that winning moment.
Yeah.
You're like creating that winning moment on stage.
Yeah.
Even if it happens somewhere on the water.
Yeah.
People saw it, but that's kind of like when it becomes real.
Yeah.
Is that?
It's funny. I don't know if it's when it becomes real, but it gives them that moment. Like, I mean, there's guys like John Cox who love it. Like, John Cox is like, he geeks out over it. You know what I mean? So to give him, to me, Kyle, does it feel really cool when you take a video or take a still picture and somebody says, "Hey, man, thanks for capturing that moment."
Yeah.
Like, not just idiots like me who are like, "Hey, Kyle, take a picture of me," like I do quite often when you're in front of the stage for different moments, stuff. But I mean, like, when you capture that moment, you make that.
You want to make someone happy.
Yeah.
It makes them,
So you want to give that back. But the weird thing about that whole thing is watching anglers react to it, because we have anglers who love it, like Cox.
Yeah.
We got anglers who want it to go away. Like,
like get uncomfortable.
Oh, Keith Combs is never even looking at me. Like, he is always talking to somebody. Like, and I remember somebody was like, "Do you find that, like, really disrespectful that Combs is, like, not even paying attention to you when you're," I'm like, no, that's how he chooses to deal with it. You know what I mean? Because if I didn't do it, I'm sure he'd be like, "Well, why are you not?" And then there's guys like Aaron was the best. Like, Aaron would be like, I'd be rallying. And that was kind of when that first started, when I started doing this. But he'd be like, "There's more. There's more."
Like, keep going. Keep giving me more. Give me more.
Yeah. No, it's weird. It's awkward. It's funny. I don't know why I do it, but I love doing it. That's the kind of stuff that every single year, just like you, just like anybody doing a job, your goal is to do it better. Your goal is to add different stuff, and every year you try to get a little better and a little bit more ridiculous. And, you know, now Kyoya, I mean, the last few times I've introduced him, I take my hat off and actually present him as the prince that he is.
Yeah.
He has no idea what I'm saying.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
He might know more than you
his
think.
English is getting better.
Very
though.
good, yeah. Very good.
It's amazing how fast they can learn English.
Yeah.
But I guess they're just surrounded by it, that they pick up on it.
That's what Takumi says.
Yeah.
Takumi said, I had no choice. I
You're
mean, you go to
immersed.
a gas station and you only speak Japanese, guess what? You're not going to be able to get too much stuff.
Especially most of the places that we go. He's probably not getting a lot of Japanese spoke back to him.
And he was, when I first met him, and I'm sure you've heard me tell the story, but when I first met him, it was like a UFC interview with a translator. I met him in Birmingham.
Yeah.
And his wife was with him. She did all the translating, and it was like, "Hi, good to meet you." And, you know, then she would say it to him, and I'd be like, "Good to meet you, I'm Dave." Then she would say it to him. Like, he didn't speak a lick of English, and now he is literally the puppeteer of any audience. Like, he's
so good.
amazing what he does.
Yeah. He's
Anywhere you go,
so good.
when Taku's in the top 10, and just like it's everyone's laughing. He makes it so light and fun. It's good for the sport.
He's great for the sport.
I love when we have weigh-ins like that.
Yeah.
Like top 10 weigh-ins that there's just some of them that just hit different.
Yeah.
They got energy.
The ones where the guy, when you know the guy's going to win.
Yeah.
Those ones when nobody even loads the hot seat.
Yeah, but
Those
even
suck.
Jerks.
But even that, like, but it's even so much more than that.
Yeah.
Because remember, like the last
Fork.
last
You're
time?
going to bring up Fork, aren't you?
Yeah. But we talked about that. We're like, that weigh-in was just awesome.
Yeah. Some
Like-
weigh-ins are. Like, there's some
we
you
knew
walk
who
away
won.
with. Bill Lowen's win this year.
Yeah.
That was just another awesome weigh-in. That was different. That was easier because you're like, nobody knew who won. And you're right. On the Fork one, we knew who won that one. I don't know. There's just some of them that are,
I know. I'm trying to
I
figure out,
haven't-
like, what that is. Like,
I wish you could bottle it.
Is it a crowd thing? Is it the anglers on stage and, like, how the personalities, you know, like, what is that thing that makes those weigh-ins just seem like, I don't know, like everything's right in the world?
I think one thing, a theory of mine on weigh-ins is I love when the angler shows emotion.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of guys it's harder. They don't want to, like even Tucker when he's like, I don't want to take my sunglasses off because I'm
off.
crying. Like, dude, like that one hit me. I was like, and his mom was there. It was Mother's Day, wasn't it? And like those kind of things, you're just like, oh man, like those were cool moments. And I think like as a spectator of the sport, I want to see the anglers as humans too, because I relate to it. Like, you know, there's different scenarios that make that more real for people, but it's
I think
interesting.
that builds longevity in your career.
Oh, but I also think in Tucker's defense, that's the hardest time to do it.
Oh, 100%.
You're a rookie. Let's be honest. When you first start a new job, you're acting.
Mm-hmm.
You're just trying to be what people think you want to be. You know what I mean? And it takes a while until you're yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, I bet you if you look at your first Classic and my first Classic, you know, both of those, we were probably very different. You know, just the way we came, because it takes you a while to get the confidence to be who you really are. But I'm all about, like, the Tucker situation. Like, take your glasses off. And, I mean, for him to win a Mother's Day, and he is the student of probably the most famous mother-son relationship in the history of the sport, which is Aaron. And for him to win a Mother's Day like he did, I mean, I was emotional. So don't hide it. That's my advice. Be whoever you are on that stage.
I think a lot of people didn't realize, like, that connection that him and Aaron had. Like, you know, how he had spent a bunch of time fishing with Aaron and things like that. Because I know, like, after that weigh-in, I had people ask, like, what did, like, you know, what was his deal with Aaron or whatever, you know, but that wasn't something that was majorly publicized.
And I think that that's cool for Tucker. Yeah. That he hasn't. That tells me a lot about Tucker Smith. Because you think of how many people would hold on to, I mean, you were the protege of one of the greatest ever that passed, and we are all missing to this day and will miss forever. Yeah. And his as an unmovable impact on this sport Aaron has. And it'd be real easy for a lot of young guys to kind of ride that. Yeah. He doesn't. Yeah. He has a hard time talking about it. And part of that's emotion, but I respect that about him as well, that he hasn't
he's not leaning on someone else's legacy.
Yeah.
He's more honoring it by building his own type of deal, right? Like, I'm going to take the teachings that I learned and I'm going to put them to work, and I'm going to honor him that way. Yeah. You know, and rather than, like, leaning on his name, someone else's name, which, like you said, is a name that will never be replaced. And
he could have done it. He could totally do it, and that's not a bad thing. But it just says a lot about him as a person that he's
I've never
chosen to kind of go his own route and not kind of ride that.
Yeah, that was a good one.
As we record this, I actually have him on tonight's podcast, Tucker, and I talked to him about that, and he still has a hard time even opening up about Aaron.
I'm curious to listen to it then and, like, hear.
I think Tucker's like an onion. We got to get a few layers off him. He's very guarded right now. You know what I mean? Like, he's got everything you would want sponsor-wise. Like,
didn't want to talk about his mom's poodle.
No, he doesn't like talk about Mia, the poodle. Not proud of that dog whatsoever. And you know what? I don't blame him. I mean, that dog is fancy.
Proper.
Tucker, and this is, I don't know Tucker at all, but Tucker reminds me a little bit of you in terms of, like, your younger years in some ways. Like, I don't know Tucker at all that well, probably. But just my perception initially, like, he's just him, and he's confident in that, and he stands in that, which is cool to see, like, as a young angler. Yeah. And he's not trying to be anything other than what he is, and I don't know, just from the brief little bit of knowing him or seeing him around.
I've been challenging all the young anglers, and I want to say this. When we started this, I said, well, we'll talk about whatever. I don't have anything I want to say, but I want to say this publicly because I know a lot of young anglers listen to your stuff. I've been challenging them to bring it because Tucker and guys like that, it's real easy to be like, we got a quiet group of young guys. Yeah. And part of that's due to technology. I get it. You know, it is kind of like talking to someone you're texting. But guys like that they got to take the sport on their shoulders. You know, Easton, Tucker, Paul, all of those guys, you know, Emil, the list goes on. And Emil, actually, I shouldn't even throw on that list because I think Emil's very outward on camera. But if you look at a lot of those young guys, but it's a weird time, too, because they're accomplishing so much so quick.
Yeah.
Like nobody else is, even you, like if you look at what you did, you had early success. I mean, you finished 6th place in your first Classic. You were thrown into the spotlight, but it was just little bits. It was just a little, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it gradually grew. And then when you did win an event, you had a bunch of time. These guys are accomplishing so much so quick that I think that's what's being exposed is it's one part of the puzzle that hasn't been taught, the entertaining part of it, because they're great on the water.
Yeah.
But they're not giving back in the entertaining part of it, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that wrong of me to say that?
No. And we need it.
Yeah.
It's like you have to have it. You have to have those personalities of just opening up and being whatever that is.
Yeah.
And I think that oddly drives the sport. Like that's part
100%.
of it, right? It's no different than if you were just monotone up there on stage. Like you wouldn't keep your job.
Well, Brandon, from your perspective, what advice would you give those young anglers to own that? Like, is there something you would like to tell them in that way of like, hey, this is what you would advise them to do?
I think when you come in early I guess just speaking from my personal experiences, like you're kind of tiptoeing around because all of a sudden now you're competing against the guys that you all looked up to.
Yeah.
So it's like last week I was reading your article trying to figure out how to flip bushes, and then this week I'm going to try to beat you flipping bushes. And so it's like you have so much respect for them, but you're also trying to gain that same respect from them. And so you're in this kind of weird limbo place trying to figure out like how do I show these guys that I have the respect for them, but then also try to beat them? Yeah. And I think that comes over time.
Yeah.
By, continually doing the right things on the water, off the water. It seems like it takes long, but I promise you it doesn't. There's already guys out there who's like, that guy's good. Like the guys that have been around for a while, it's like, yep, we're 3/4 of the way through the season. He's made enough of the right decisions during practice or during a tournament or whatever on water that has it's spread throughout the field, right? Like, or even more so, you got to watch that guy.
Yeah, that spreads quicker.
Yeah, that spreads quicker. And so I think it's just, doing those right things, being respectful, but also, like Dave's saying, is to bring it. Like when you're on camera, use that to be yourself and show people who you are. Yeah. And be excited when you catch a fish.
Yeah.
I don't care if you caught it scoping or not. Like when you catch one, be excited about it. Show it to the camera. Like if you get a school fired up, that's fine. Be excited about it. Talk about it. Do those things. And like everything will find its place.
Yeah.
But I think that's the biggest thing is like there's never been such an influx of young anglers at such a fast time that everyone's trying to figure out like how to navigate that.
Yeah.
Because like when I came in, I was super young.
Yeah.
The average age was probably 42 or something. And even like when I qualified, most of the guys were still in their 30s or 40s that qualified, And so now when you look and it's like, okay, there's a couple guys in their 30s and 40s, and then the majority is in their 20s, that's different, And so trying to figure out like what all the right things are to do with that is a big part of it.
Yeah, and I think it's tougher in some ways, too, now than it was because people questioned you when you showed up. They
Probably
didn't
more
question
so than I
you
know.
public. Yeah, but that's what I mean.
Yeah.
You didn't know. They didn't question you publicly.
Yeah.
Like I remember people being like, "Yeah, well, we'll see how he does long term."
My dog is going to end this podcast before we are ready to end it.
Your dog's ready for it to be over. But you know what I'm saying? Like, so they have had to go through the public end of people critiquing them.
Yeah.
You know, it's a different time in that way where people, you were being critiqued. You were just being critiqued behind doors. So,
Yeah.
I mean, kind of ignorance is bliss. You know what I mean? You're just like, everyone likes me out here.
And I mean, yeah. And I know that happened. I don't know the extent of it. Like you said, like it wasn't a public thing. But like, I had dealt with it my whole life of people critiquing or saying things that weren't actually the truth, just what they saw. But they didn't actually know what was happening, you know, or like what the situation was. And they'd say, oh, he's just got daddy's money. That was the farthest thing from the truth. It was just the fact that I had put the work in and decided like, oh, I'm going to have a $1,500 truck, but I'm going to have a $30,000 boat. You know, like, but they think like, oh, he's just got daddy's money. And so like, that's why he's able to have this or why he's able to fish. Like I dealt with that growing up, you know, and I'm sure a lot of these young guys have dealt with or are dealing with the same things. And then they just have to decide like, hey, stay the course. All of that works itself out.
Yeah.
You know, there was a time frame when like people at home were like, I'm sure we're like, we just want this kid to quit fishing. Like,
yeah,
you know, they start talking like, oh yeah, he's just, you know, winning because he gets to spend all the time on the water because he's got daddy's money. It's like, no, I get home from school, I go fish till dark, and then I get home, and then I do practice, you know, and then work on the weekends. It's like there's all of those other things, and that's why there's success there. And so, you know, they're dealing with a lot of the same stuff. Like they've just put in so much time at such a young age. Whether or not your parents have money or don't have money, that's not the determining factor of their success.
No.
You know, and I think that's a crazy thing. It's not the determining factor of your success or Kyle's or mine or anybody. Like, it's those things that you mentioned, right? Like the hard work, finding something that you're passionate about, putting your time into that, like having, you know, and being a good human. So, like, show up here, be a good human. That's where you're going to gain the respect on and off the water, and then continue to catch them.
And it doesn't matter what they think about you initially, because you're going to get an opportunity for them to get to know you, you know?
Yep.
And it's everyone. Like, I mean, here's a funny story. So I started when the new ownership took over, Jerry McInnes.
Hold on. Are you
Do
in
we
trouble?
have a podcast? He has been running back and forth with batteries.
Yeah, trying to keep cameras going or whatever. This is longer than we normally go. But
No, I'm sorry. Where was I? So Marty Robinson.
Yeah.
So I first started when I first started at Bass, it was when Jerry McInnes, Don Logan, and Jim Copeland
they owned it.
Bought Bass from ESPN. And so they had hired me. Jerry hired me, and, you know, I've talked about it a bunch of times. Zona and Kevin kind of threw my name out there, and I ended up getting the job. But 2 years, I've had the job for 2-3 years at this point. And I'm at one of those cookouts. Casey Ashley's playing guitar, whatever.
Yep.
And Marty, he comes up, he's like, so what kin are you to Jerry? And I'm like, what? Which, first of all, I didn't even know what kin meant initially. Yeah. I'm like, what? He's like, how are you related to Jerry? And I said, I'm not. Like, I'd never heard that in my life. He's like, oh, I was always told you were Jerry's nephew or something. So I'm like, so I started this job, and people are like, well, he's Jerry's kin. And that's why. But
That's why he got the job.
But it's funny. So I'd known Marty for 3 years, and he still thought I was kin to Jerry McInnes. But they're gonna say what, that's just natural. That's just how people are. But the difference with these kids is they're seeing it, they hear it, and that also is a negative with them. So if you're Easton, and you've read some of the stuff that's been said about you after just simply achieving a lifelong dream, chasing your dream, never mind the medical stuff a year before, reading that stuff doesn't make you want to open up and put on a show. Reading that stuff makes you want to put your head down and just go to work.
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing some of that. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, there's some pretty talented young anglers, and I think you have a couple more years in you. I think.
I need about 15 more in me, so that'd be my preference. At least I feel like I'm halfway through.
We've shaved some of those years off in this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. A few.
We should give a prize out to whoever's still listening.
The best part is that Kyle just finally got all the cameras up and running, and I feel like this is a good time to end it.
Hey, we do what we got to do.
I know, and I didn't think it would even go this long. And
How long have we been going?
An hour, a little over an hour and a half.
That's long.
Dang, we're almost on Rogan level. That's like a.
Yeah, but the stupid thing is we could keep talking. Like, how dumb is it that right now I'm like, we never talked about this. Like, there's a lot of things we never talked about.
That just means you have to do it again.
Anytime.
I won't even. Don't say any. He says
it takes us a year to set it up.
We gotta have Mercer out to Coeur d'Alene one of these days.
I want to come so bad.
Supposed to come to the
wedding.
wedding.
Know I was supposed to.
He got sick. Him and Sarah were supposed to be at the wedding.
Was that your wedding was during COVID, right?
No, it was 21.
No, I was sick.
Was it July or
it was
August?
21. It was after COVID, but you guys were sick.
Yeah, I was bummed. I normally, and I'll be totally honest, I missed a lot of weddings in my life.
Yeah.
I don't regret any of them. I don't regret missing any of them. I regret missing yours. I really do.
It was pretty awesome. I'm biased, but it was pretty awesome.
No, but yours, I mean, there's people like you're like, I need to be at that wedding, and I was bummed. Plus, I really want to go out to Coeur d'Alene. Like, I need to come out to that part of the world.
I think not to get off on a crazy other tangent, but
you will.
Down a different rabbit hole. The coolest thing about
welcome to part 2.
The coolest part about our wedding is that I think because we were older, we didn't worry about following any of the this is how a wedding has to be.
Yeah.
We're gonna build the wedding the way that we want to do it, and kind of the vibe and everything that we want, the look, everything. And if that's outside of the box of the standard, who cares?
Yeah.
It's our day. It's our one day. We're going to spend money and do it this way. And even during the wedding, DJ comes up and he's like, hey, you guys want to do the garter and flower toss and stuff and everything? And me and Tiff look at each other and was like, no. No. Everyone's dancing, having a good time.
Why stop it?
Yeah, let's not stop it and interrupt it to just do something that checks a box that everyone says we're supposed to do. Let's just let this moment be this moment. Let everyone dance. Let everybody have a good time. We don't need to do that.
Could you imagine Kyle's wedding? I mean, it'd be lucky if people even show up in clothes.
Oh, yeah, by the way, you guys have to ride a motorcycle here, 100 miles.
It's going to be the amazing race.
Yeah. Whoever makes it gets to be my best man.
It's a good test.
All 4 of you that make it will be in the wedding party. Congrats.
It's a game of Survivor to get to the wedding.
Yeah.
I have some wedding advice, though. Here's something. Every female hates this.
Oh, boy.
But I honestly believe this. The biggest sham on earth is engagement rings. People spend way too much money on engagement rings. Buy a cubic zirconia. I didn't. I bought a real diamond, spent way too much money. Could have bought a couch or something that we really needed at the time. No, but at that time in a couple's relationship.
You're going to say a down payment on a house? Well, now that's like
we needed somewhere to sit. Couch. I just need a couch. Wasn't that good a ring, bro. We couldn't down payment on a house. A couch was lofty. But I honestly think that if every guy on earth just agreed, and a lot of females agree, we're all just going to lie. Cubic zirconia. I mean, spend $150 on the ring. You'll never know. They'll never know. You know what I mean? Nobody will ever know. Like, and we'd all be better off. And what a diamond's ever done good for anyone? Mm-hmm. Make the world a better place. Lie to your fiance.
Based on the foundation.
I have said that to some recently. We've got a lot of people get engaged on the elites. And I've said that, and some fiancés do not agree at all. Like, I don't even think my relationship will ever be the same.
She's going to hold that against you.
Jonathan Kelly's fiance does not like me anymore. I told her that, and she did not agree.
Yeah. Well,
sorry.
That is sound advice, though. I'm going to take it to heart.
Well, maybe don't tell people about it. Just lie.
It's out there to the world now.
It's all just agree.
But they don't have to know. You can't tell the difference.
Yeah,
I mean, like a jeweler could, but she's probably not going to know.
You never know.
You'll be all right.
They're not going to know.
Well, now that you left us with that phenomenal
it's great advice.
The rest of us are married, so I guess that's just for you and all the rest of them out there that trying to figure it out.
Do you think you'll get married one day? Or
never know.
It's the plan.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Married to I Mother Earth, I believe. Well, that's a band. I mean, you're married to Earth.
To Earth. You make me sound like I'm a hippie.
Well, you kind of are, bro. I mean, you swim with humpback whales. What have you been doing in the break? Been riding the Baja. I mean, it's you and Jesse Ventura out in the Baja.
It's good living. What? I've one. This is my one last question.
The last one?
We're on part 2 now. It's fine.
This is part 2. We got a whole another hour and a half. No. What staple do you want to leave on the world? Like, what is your? I know it's a big question, but I like big questions. What is the dent you want to make in the world?
It's probably going to be a big one. Physically. It's a weird one, dude. I don't know. Here's a weird thing. I think people spend a lot of time talking about impacts and legacies, and I think everything's temporary. It's the truth. You know what I mean? Like, if you look at in other sports, you look at the impact that people had. I mean, I'm always going to think that Michael Jordan was the greatest basketball player. My son is always going to think it's LeBron James. And guess what? His son's going to think it's somebody else. And that's just kind of, so everything's temporary.
Yeah.
I think I'd like people to smile. You know what I mean? I'd like people to, I don't know that I think it's a weird way to, I'd like people to be happy when you're together. And I'd like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're thinking long term, like, when people look back, when you're gone, I'd like people to smile. I mean, I think a guy who made an incredible impact, and we've already talked about him, is Aaron. Can't help but smiling when I think of him.
Yeah.
You know, I asked Tucker in that podcast, I said, what do you think Aaron would say if he was here? Which was a tough question for Tucker to answer. And he gave the greatest answer. He said, I told you so. And you know that Aaron, like, I can envision Aaron just grabbing him by the shoulders and shaking him and being like, I told you, bro. Like, you know, that high-pitched. But whenever any of us talk about Aaron, we can't help but smile. And I think that is the greatest impact that you can make. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. People will forget what you know, that old saying, people forget what you said. People forget how you said it. But they'll remember how you made them feel. Yeah. And hopefully, other than Bella, because she does not need any more of this podcast, hopefully I've made people feel happy.
I think,
I don't know.
I don't think that's one that you have to give a direct answer to. Because like we talked earlier, you hadn't thought about it, but you're making an impact on an entire generation of dreamers, of people that are deciding like that's what I want to do for a living, and a lot of what they watch and see and hear is something that you have an impact on, right? Through announcing and your show and your podcast and your impact on the industry without you saying this is what I want my impact to be has already and will continue to be a positive one. And probably far bigger and greater than you would even be able to answer with a sentence of like, that's what I want it to be. You know what? You don't say anything.
You have bookended this whole podcast with awkwardness. With
No,
me.
that's just, hey, that's what we're here for. You're not running the script, so
No, I don't have a script.
You gotta catch it off.
You're
catch you off guard. But that's the I think as I've gotten older, like I've just thought about a lot of those things, driving down the road and stuff, and that is one like that I think you'll someday you'll enjoy being like, and it'll hit you hopefully that you've thought like, oh, wow, that was a crazy ride, and you'll see the impact.
Yeah, or I'll just have enjoyed a really crazy ride. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that you need to see an impact. I don't know. I don't know. Plus, I'd also like to be known for not dying. Like, I'd like to be, that dude will never die. Look at him. He's 104. Still living.
Should get into biohacking.
I need to take care of a lot of stuff if I want to make it to 104.
What's his last name? Brian, whatever. He only spends like $2 million a year. Oh. But he's aging backwards.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah,
I'm not. I am not biohacking. I need to biohack a little more.
All right. Well, it's kids are waking up. It's turning into a little bit of organized chaos. I actually currently see a water balloon fight happening behind us, which is dangerous with cameras and podcast equipment. So
wow.
I feel like this is a good time to.
I thought that you had a horrible name for this podcast when you first called it the Outdoor Burrito, but I feel like it really, I mean, it is a burrito. It's got a lot of stuff in it.
It is.
You just roll it up.
I know.
We got a corgi coming on set now.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, and this time we actually are outside.
A walking ottoman.
But that's the whole that's the whole goal of this is to
How come that ottoman's moving?
Because it's a corgi.
I've never heard a corgi described to that, but it's perfect.
It's my son's favorite dog. Loves the corgis.
That's awesome.
Never would have guessed that about Jack. But
no.
I appreciate everyone.
Whose corgi is this?
It's
is it friendly? Can I pick him up?
I'm sure.
Yeah,
it's
probably.
What's the worst he can do?
Hey, come on.
He's going to corgi out.
Wants no part of me. Show the world the corgi on our way out. Come on.
We got a corgi.
An outdoor burrito, and we got a freaking corgi.
Oh, he's getting out.
Oh, wow. He wants no part of you. Oh, wow. He's just your... Did he...
How'd Kyle die? He got strangled with a headphones by a corgi.
Oh, man.
All right. Appreciate everyone listening to this. Hopefully you learned something new about Mercer. Maybe not. Maybe you did. I don't know. Make sure you guys check out his podcast every Wednesday.
Yeah.
Coming out. I'm excited to listen to the one with Tucker. That'll be a good one.
Which we can link right here.
Yeah.
Right
It'll be out by the time this comes out. So
drop
a little link to that. Maybe Kyle will remember to do that on this one. Yeah.
50-50.
Catch you guys on the next one.